There are a lot of myths surrounding the press handstand and what it takes to get it, but let me break down one of them for you. The main reason that a lot of people can't press is because either they're not strong enough in the shoulders in a very specific way, or they just don't know how to organize them yet. So yeah, there's a lot of timing, there's a lot of flexibility. This video is not a press handstand tutorial, that's gonna happen eventually. This is just a couple exercises to help condition your shoulders and strengthen them to be able to do the press. So especially if you have a decent flexibility, like if you can, at the very least, touch flat hands with straight legs with no problem, I would say you're more than flexible enough to do the press. So the main reason you can't do it is going to depend more on your technique and more on how you organize the shoulders and what kind of strength you build there. So just two very, very simple exercises that you can do, and start including these, and I think you should really see gains in how you are able to do the press, or how quickly you learn the press once you start incorporating these into your training. First, let's talk about how we want to organize the shoulders in the press, because that's also very specific to the skill. So we want two things to happen. Number one is the elevation. You do want to engage the traps. You generally have to push a lot more through the traps than you would for a normal handstand. So if you're not pushing more, you might collapse. And then the second thing we want to do is to round the back. So it's not so much that the shoulders are closing, it's more like the rounding of the back makes the shoulders close. So in both exercises that we're going to do, you want to think about these two things. So first exercise, very simple. We just put our hands on the ground. If you have trouble putting your hands down with straight legs, it's okay to bend slightly. And all we're doing is leaning weight into the hands and then pressing back. As you lean weight into the hands, the more weight they take, the more you want to think about pushing. The shoulders are going to end up leaning a little bit forward. The goal is actually not to lean forward too far. The general guideline I give is you want to lean probably no more than the shoulder to the edge of the fingers. It's very general, so it's going to be different for everybody, but it's not like a planche where I'm leaning forward. I'm trying to keep my hips high. I'm just trying to put weight into the hands and really focus on pushing down. And I can do this movement, for pulses, or I can just hold. I can just hold with as much weight as possible in my hands, and even just, the 5 seconds I just did, really focusing, I felt my traps, I felt my delts. So I'm conditioning and strengthening the muscles that I'm going to need to eventually lift my feet. And this exercise, you might have to just accumulate time in it. So it's not about lifting right away. It's just about being able to get strong enough that you can start to almost feel that you can lift your feet. Keep going, and eventually you're going to be able to continue leaning and lift your feet. The most important thing for this one is to not let the shoulders collapse. Start with that round shoulder position from the beginning, and then think about doing it more. Think about actively pushing down. The more your hips go up and the more weight you put into your arms. And even just doing holds in this position, you're going to be surprised how much benefit you see in terms of your actual press handstand. Second movement, also very simple, but the technique can be a little bit complicated. But even if you don't do the specific precise technique, you're still going to get the benefit of shoulder strength. So chest to wall handstand, we want to lean forward, but we want to lean forward to simulate what it's like to do that in a press handstand. So rather than doing this is something that I would do in a planche or in a handstand push-up, where as my shoulders close, I pack the shoulder, I sink it in, and then I try to lean forward and stick my head out. Not stick my head out, but lean forward. But what we're doing for the press is, before leaning, I want to activate the traps further, and as I lean, I get into that round position. So what should happen is my hips should go with me. My whole body should go a little bit forward and then press back. So this is a way to specifically condition that strength aspect of the press handstand in a way that you're actually in a handstand. So it's going to look something like this, a little bit of distance from the wall, find your shoulder line, the legs are very light against the wall. So I push, round, and then come back. So I feel the same thing as I did in the previous exercise. I round, I lean, and I press back. Really feel my traps and my delts for this one. And the goal for this exercise, just like before, it's not about how far you can lean, it's about how much you can resist leaning forward. So the basic idea, and it's kind of a paradox, but it's important to think about, is that My shoulders are leaning forward, but I'm actively pressing in two directions to stop them from leaning forward. I'm actively pressing up, and I'm actively pressing back. And this idea of the back rounding helps to reinforce that as well. So give that a try. Yeah. So if you've been struggling with your press handstand, or you're just not sure how it works, or you're trying to think too much about core activation, which doesn't really do much in a press handstand, give these exercises a try, because they're going to condition your shoulders specifically for being able to do the press. That's the strength aspect and the skill specific strength needed to do that good technique. So of course, keep working your flexibility, of course keep working your handstand, all of these other things that go into the press, but these two exercises are very specific and they will help you. So let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe down below. Check out my handstand ebook, check out my workshops, and I'll see you some other time.